It's nice to see you all, and we've got a bit of stuff to get through this morning. We're going to talk about the Windermere Science Festival, which I think is in its third edition now, if I've got that right. Thumbs up from Nick. Nick is the genius behind the Windermere Science Festival. I have a flyer for it right here, and it sounds great. And if you're into trumpets in particular, that's a good thing for this year. Hi, Julie. We're also going to hear from Peter Marr, who's in Ennerdale. Hi, Peter, who's a retired something, I can't remember what, possibly something to do with education, and is setting up some sessions. Has anyone been to the Gather in Ennerdale? Beautiful, beautiful hall in Ennerdale. Some of us know it, which Peter was involved in creating some years ago. It's a kind of multi-purpose, beautiful venue, and there's some sessions that Peter's organising about getting young people to understand and learn about the technicals of music production. So just going to hear a bit about that because there's a couple of places available there, and part of what this network should be doing and is trying to do is to support young people whenever opportunities arise. So I seize those whenever they come my way. And then amazingly, after 2 years, I think, Helping Hands is coming to a conclusion. I think Monday technically is the last day. Is that right?
Yeah.
So we're going to hear, we've got a lovely little film, highlights film of Helping Hands, the whole 2-year project. So a reminder, this is a project that was all about helping to get volunteers from different backgrounds into the culture and art sector across Cumbria. It's been a huge project backed by DCMS with some funding that was fiercely fought over. And Cumbria's really benefited. So again, just a few stories about how that's gone and perhaps any lessons learned looking forwards as well for the future. And then finally, we'll just probably touch on Catalyst because the announcement was made this week of the 3 artists in Cumbria who have been successful in getting Catalyst funding for the next year. So we'll probably hear a little bit about that as well, just before we conclude the meeting. And just a reminder that there's no Friday meeting next week because we've got the big meet at Reged on Wednesday, I think it is, May the 1st anyway. I know some of you are signed up to come along to that, so we'll just probably touch on that before we finish as well. But there's no Friday call next week because it will kill me to organise 2 events in 1 week. And I'm only paid to organise 1 event a week, and that's the one I'm going to do next week. Right, so without further ado, by the way, is anyone watching Red Eye on ITV? No, it's a thriller. It's a sort of 6-part thriller. All about anyone else? It's literally no one else watching it apart from me. Right, shall I shut up then? Anyway, I think it's quite good. It's on ITVX. You might enjoy it. Right. Let's start then with the Windermere Science Festival, which Nick is in charge of. We've got a few slides to share and a couple of films that we'll just have to jockey around to get those.
Okay, yeah.
Nick, over to you.
Thanks very much, Tom. You're quite right. Windermere Science Festival is in its 3rd year. And this week, I've been trying to make trumpets. I don't know anything about making trumpets, but that's a mouthpiece from a trumpet, and we'll get to that. What's the shape that you make with your mouth? You'll know this, Kate. Is it embouchure?
Yes, but I don't know anything about trumpets. Andrew Deakin might.
That makes 2 of us, but we'll come to that. So, who's in charge of the slides? Could I have the slides, please? And then, yeah, there's an opening slide and then the film, Chris, please. So this film, it's a minute long and it just shows what we did last year. So we're very much investigating kind of like the link between art and science. We've got a little bit of Arts Council money. We've got a Dalek. We've got an original Dalek from Doctor Who. But if you hit the film, please, Chris, it'll give people a bit of an idea.
Okay, so Chris, you'll just have to stop sharing and I'll share and I'll do the film.
Okay.
So Chris, there we go. Okay. Bear with me, folks. Top stuff. Chris, back to you with the slides. That's a great film, Nick. Great music and great visuals, as they say.
It's great, and it features Jenny Dennett, which is very important. And Chris, who's on this call, they're wonderful work. They were with us last year. So yeah, if you hit the next slide, please, Chris.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so we are very much, one of the themes of the festival this year is materials, and I got a little bit of Arts Council money. So Arts Council won't fund science per se. So we're kind of fusing a lot of art with science, and one of the things we're looking at is materials. So we've got the Nobel Prize winning National Graphene Institution from Manchester University. They're going to come up, and they'll be there both on Saturday the 11th and Sunday the 12th of May. And you'll be able to make graphene, so they'll be there, and you'll be able to have a look at it through microscopes. And next slide, please, Chris. Oh yes, and we've got the daytime stuff. Saturday and Sunday, it's very popular, but we also have talks for adults as well. So we're being joined by a food scientist who used to develop enzymes, and he's going to misdirect your sense of sensation. And one of the things he's going to do is feed people baked beans, but it's much more than that. He's going to talk about how kind of the science of flavor works. And the next slide, please, Chris. And next slide, please.
I think Chris's internet has frozen.
Ah, okay.
Is Chris frozen?
Yeah,
Oh, has he?
I think he has. Keep talking, Nick.
I will. Okay. So yeah, very much we're exploring the link between kind of science and art. So we've got a storyteller and a kind of busker who's going to be doing something called science busking. So he's using performance skills to demonstrate sort of scientific principles. We have also on the Friday, I've got a toxicologist. This is an event at the Lawn Drama, which is just quite close to the, oh, that's the very one. So
I'm now showing my screen, so you carry on and just tell me when to move on. Nick, carry on.
Yeah, I've got a toxicologist, and she's written a book about all the poisons in Agatha Christie novels. So we've got the event is a 3-course meal, and between courses she's going to describe how to poison people and the effect that toxins have on the body. So you get a 3-course meal and you learn the effects of toxins and how to poison people, if that's your thing. Her book is called A is for Arsenic, and it's about all the poisons in Agatha Christie novels. Yeah, hit the next one, please, Tom. Right, so yeah, as I say, so I've got a little bit of Arts Council money, but not specifically for the Science Festival. So what I've been doing, and my background is kind of more like digital media. So I used to work in film and television. But what I've been developing for this kind of round year workshops is workshops that kind of fuse art and science. So in this particular one, we make, with all ages, we make kaleidoscopes from scratch. So we have little mirrors, and we put them together and put them in a tube and a filter, and then put little bits of stuff down it. These, I think we put bits of tissue paper, but they make, kids of all abilities, and indeed grown-ups, can make the most extraordinary sort of images. I've also got a few other artists, like, I'm not sure if people know Charlie Winnie. He's an amazing steam woodbender based in Witherslack. So I've got some skills working with him, and they're going to make some stuff that will be shown at the Science Festival on the 11th and 12th of May. Yeah, next slide, please. And there's other stuff going on. This is just a screen grab of our website, but there's, if you look in the What's On section, so yeah, we have the Institutes of Physics, and for those of you with hair, they can make your hair stand on end with a Van der Graaf generator. I've got a Dalek. I've got a Dalek coming from the original Doctor Who. So the kids can talk like a Dalek. You can put a little headset on and, you know, you can exterminate your teacher. Lots of performances. Professor Pumpernickel is a kind of firm family favorite, and we're going to be doing interesting stuff and blowing stuff up with him. Also, you see the image bottom left, canoe safari. We have a lecture on the lake with a lake ecologist, which I learned she's called a limnologist, which you'll know from your Greek. So she takes 12 or 14 people out on canoes, and you get a lecture on the lake about lake ecology, and she live samples the water and talks about phytoplasm and stuff. Royal Society of Chemistry are always good fun. They'll be doing things like making sherbet and lava lamps. Also on the Sunday, Charlie, Winnie the Steam Woodbender, will be making cardboard boats to put real life-size humans in and paddle out. So we work with a marine engineer and Charlie to make a boat and paddle out on the lake, done in a safe and responsible manner. And I've just secured a 6-piece New Orleans jazz band, and they're going to be dressed like Sergeant Pepper, so like really brightly coloured. And they're going to be playing 90s rave classics as the kids sink in their boats. So it sounds a little bit like a William Burroughs dream, but it should be good family fun. And could I have the next slide, please? Right. Oh, yeah. Trumpets. So this week, I've been trying to make trumpets. This man is a chocolatier called Stuart. So I've asked him, and you can see the perplexed look on his face, to make me a chocolate trumpet. Why? Good question. So, and next slide, please. So this guy Danny, is making me a pottery trumpet. And the next slide, please. And this is Danny Clahane, who's in with us. Like, he's going to make me a stone trumpet. Do we have the trumpet film?
Yes, we do. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Right.
I'm going to pull it up now. So you want to just...
We're going to be joined by an amazing science communicator, and she's done this show once before at the Royal Institution lectures, and well, it'll be self-explanatory. So why am I trying to make a chocolate trumpet? Off we go.
Okay.
Oh God, oh, what's that?
The final point that I will say, basically, is that materials engineering, they were inextricably linked with kind of culture and how culture was changing and society, and we can see that all in kind of the engineering of trumpets. But the final thing that I want to say about trumpets, as we saw with our tube, the material of the trumpet isn't actually that necessary, isn't that important. And thanks Dan, one of the silly ideas that I had for the wonderful demo team at the Royal Institution was to say, how important are materials to trumpets? Oh, it's so silly. Concrete trumpet. Does it sound the same? Concrete sounds the same. Oh no. Jelly trumpet. Does it sound the same?
Right. So that's Anna Plajowski, and she's amazing. She's a podcaster. She's written a book, and she very much sort of communicates about the link between science and art. And also, so she's coming up, and we've got a show on Saturday the 11th, which is, so we're inviting lots of local artists, including you. And I've got a discount code inspired by Tom's discount code last week for the Jetty Museum. We've got 50% off for Anna's show for you guys if you use the code ARTIST when you go on the Old Laundry website. The show's called Anna Plajowski Materials Odyssey. And that's basically why I've been running around feeling a little bit like a contestant on The Apprentice. So chocolate trumpet, you say? Okay, I'll go and try and make a chocolate trumpet. I'm also in contact with a glass blower. So I'm trying to make a glass trumpet. And on the night, Charlie Winnie, Steam Wonderbender, is going to make live a steam bent trumpet. It's going to come out of the steamer and then be played and either make a noise or not make a noise. This show is 2 weeks tomorrow. And if anybody else has got any crazy suggestions to make a trumpet, I've got some mouthpieces here. So I'm up for, the time is short, but if anybody can think of another material that we've not got to make a trumpet from, we're certainly up for that. So that's it. Yeah, we've got a really good rounded offer. Do come along and join us. It should be a lot of fun.
Thank you very much, Nick. So when is that trumpet session again with Anna?
The trumpet session is Saturday, the 11th of May.
Yeah,
at 7:30 at the Old Laundry Theatre. So it's going to be
in Bowness.
In Bowness, yeah.
Okay. Great.
And if you Google, if you just Google Anna Plajowski or go on the Old Laundry website, there's also links from Windermere Science Festival.
Yep. Okay. Maybe you can stick a link in chat.
I will. Yeah.
And Jilly's just asking, can we see that video later on? I'd love to show it to all my horn players. Maybe you could, Jilly, you could put your details into chat and Nick could send you a link to that film or something like that.
I will do exactly that. Hello, Jilly. Oh, Julie. Yeah, wonderful.
Jilly Jarman from
Jilly Jarman.
Blue Jam. There she is.
Amazing, Jilly Jarman. That's a link to the event. And it's with the 50% off, it ends up like £6, but she's like a really top communicator and it'd be great to see.
It looks fantastic. What fun. And I think we needed Cumbria Jelly Trumpet Orchestra. Chris, you're creative to the core. Lovely stuff. Thanks very much, Nick. It must almost kill you to pull this together. And I think you're very clever to pull money for a science thing, which sometimes, and coming on an arts call and talking about it, it's not the easiest crossover sometimes, is it?
I absolutely love it. So that, it's not hard work at all. It just amuses me that I have to go around and ask people for chocolate trumpets.
Great. Chocolate trumpet. Sounds good to me. Any questions for anyone else? Before we move on, Nick is there. He's got his contacts and he's on the call. So that's lovely stuff. And I have every intention of trying to come to that session on the 11th of May, because I think she looks great as well. And she looks like she's a real, kind of leader of a session as well. So I'm looking forward to that. So thank you.
No, she's really amazing.
Great stuff. All right. As Zoe says, great, just great. Chocolate Trumpet, my indie band in the 80s was called Chocolate Trumpet. There you go. There's some previous there. Right, let's cross to Ennerdale and talk to Peter Maher, who is sitting there patiently amongst all his books. A nice backdrop, Peter, this morning. Is that a real backdrop or is that a screen grab? Come off mute, Peter.
Okay.
Is that a real screen? Is that a real backdrop?
It's real, yes.
All right. That's always impressive when people have nice backdrops. Right. You are a man of many talents, and tell us about the sessions and a bit about your background, perhaps, and the sessions that you're organising at the Gather for young people to learn about music and how to produce it.
Not quite, but nearly.
Halfway there.
Halfway there. Hi, I'm Peter. I'm a retired head from a secondary school in London. So that's my background. And after the nervous breakdown, my retirement, I moved to Ennerdale, which seems an extraordinary move from South London. But my wife's family were born and bred here, and my wife's mother was born just across the field there. So it seems extraordinary, but retired looking for things to do, I threw myself into social enterprise. I got approached by a local farmer who said, our village is going to pot, we need a bit of help, can you help? So the first thing I did was to raise some money and reopen the village pub. then designed, fundraised and built the Gather in Ennerdale Bridge, which I know some of you do know. And then twiddled my thumbs for a bit, thinking of what else might I do. And I went to Rose Hill to listen to the chief executive of the Arts Council tell everyone how wonderfully they were doing. I was not convinced, and I wrote to him the following day and told him that I didn't think they were supporting rural arts properly. It was very, I don't know, very much a top-down model. And I argued that there were other things that they might do, like supporting small village communities. That went down well. So he sent a couple of people to Ennerdale and we showed them the Gather. And I took them to the first floor, which was an accident, really. In the original building that the Gather now replicates, there was a sort of mezzanine floor and sloping roofs, very restricted height. And when the design process was going on, the Lake District National Park said, well, raise the roof by 1 meter. Gosh. So we ended up with this space, which just struck me as a lovely performance area. So I spoke to the Arts Council about it and they said, we agree. Would you like some money? All we've got is music funding. So as long as you do music, that will be fine. And we set about running gigs. Totally new for me, never done anything like that before. But again, at Rose Hill, I saw this tremendous musician called Snake Davis. Some of you may know him. And Snake, exceedingly generous person. And I just went up to him in the interval and said, so do you play small venues? And he looked at me and said, how small? So I said, well, maximum 60 seating. So he took out his diary and there and then, and that was our first gig in March 2020. A date that may resonate with you because 2 weeks later came lockdown. And that seemed the end of our musical venture, except I went back to the Arts Council to tell them that I couldn't do it anymore and would have to wait till after lockdown, but said, if you gave me some more money, I could actually stream music to people's homes instead of bringing them into and they thought that was a reasonable idea. So we bought kit and equipment to do that and began streaming every single Tuesday night a musician from, interestingly, over time from all over the world, because my only contact was the internet, and I'd phone up people in the States and various other places and just say, do you fancy a gig? And of course they were desperate to play and to perform. So we started what turned out to be doing 80, I think it was, Tuesday night gigs. And all of a sudden, this sort of small venue in West Cumbria turned into a sort of an international venue, which is quite remarkable and not what I intended at all. But we actually, after lockdown, continued to stream. And we still do that now. So each time we put on a gig, and it's now only monthly, and that's a sign of my age rather than anything else. We have audiences from the States, from Australasia, across Europe. We even have a regular viewer from Russia, Kaliningrad. She comes from. What was remarkable really was it was again centered on Snake Davis, who said, I really do hate going to a gig where the venue's got all the kit and equipment and nobody knows how to use it. And he just helped us into that position because he spent sort of £12,000 on equipment. So he said, my son and I will come and train you and a group of people so you know how to use the kit, and then I'll be happy. And as a consequence, we got a group of local people together, and the surprising thing was that a number of the people were youngsters, people 14, 15, 16 from the village who said, oh, this sounds interesting. And over a period of time, we've had now 11 young people who've come to run the technical side of performance. So it's, of course, sound and lights, but it's also filming and using OBS to software system to project that onto our YouTube channel and run live gigs online. So of those 11 people, they get older. It's a problem with young people, I find, and they move off and leave the village and go to university and things like that. So we've been really fortunate in making friends with Keswick School, whose head of music is a dramatically brilliant person. As a music teacher, is phenomenal. I recommend you go and see him. He's a really nice guy. He teaches this to his year 10 and 11 and even into the sixth form, and teaches them the skills not just of playing instruments, but how to perform in a venue context. So it's really quite remarkable shift in curriculum. So he has managed to supply us with this ongoing stream of young people, but it just occurred to me over a period of time that there are young people. We found one in particular, a guy called Harry, who came as a school dropout. He didn't go to Keswick, I ought to say quickly. He was a school dropout, and just heard me talking on Radio Cumbria, I think, about what we were trying to do, and emailed and said, can I come and find out what this is about? So he joined our team about a year ago, and from a zero start, within the space of 6 months, was operating the sound desk, or filming, or using OBS to stream, setting up cameras, and so on. And what we'd found was that there's a different group of young people, not just those who are instrumentalists or musicians or actors, but kids with technical interest who wouldn't necessarily be attracted to the arts, but who love the technology. So hence my suggestion to the Arts Council that if we try to recruit some youngsters, some more youngsters, both those with artistic intent and those without, and just train them in the space of a week to do all these sorts of things, maybe at a rudimentary level. So hence 3 workshops, one in the Whitsun holiday when school kids are available, and then 2 in their summer holiday. So what is a workshop then? It's first of all not taught by me.
Just a couple of minutes left, Peter. So just a couple of minutes left.
Okay, thanks. So they're going to be taught by undergraduates from Edge Hill University, with whom I've established a collaboration, music students and film students who take this technology as second nature. They have 3 days with them, learning how to set up lights and wire up sounds and stuff like that, and how to operate it. On day 4, I'm going to introduce them to a musician. Snake Davis is one of those, as you would guess. And their musician mentor will go with them to the Egremont Farm recording studio. If you don't know that, you ought to Google it, and see a live sound recording studio in action with their musician mentor being recorded. And then on day 5, I've said to music mentors, could you please explain to these youngsters over the space of a day that it's the relationship between technician and artist which is most important, not setting up kit and equipment, knobs and slides and things. And then on the evening of the 5th day, that artist will run a live gig in front of an audience, and the people running the technology for that performance will be the young people who started on that path only 5 days earlier. So there are 3 of those. What I need is to recruit people, and your help and support and advice in finding some more young people who might want to take advantage of that would be greatly appreciated.
So you've got some booked up, I think, and you've got a couple of spaces left. Is that right, Peter?
I've got 4 spaces left.
Okay.
I worked initially on a number 18, that's 6 in each workshop. And of those, I've got 14, I think, from memory.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Peter. I love the comprehensiveness of it as well. It's so thorough, but it's also sort of steeped in reality. There will be a gig at the end of it all, and you will twiddle the buttons and press the knobs in the right area to make the musician sound fantastic. And that whole thing about relationships. It's about people at the end of the day, and trust as well. I can see Andrew Deacon nodding fiercely, and Katie as well. That's what it's all about. So I love the fact that you're exploring all of that as well. Thank you. Is there anything online about any of this, Peter, that is a link that people could just have?
Yes, our music series is called Great Artists - Small Venue. So if you Google that, there's a website.
Or if you could could you stick it into chat, Peter, a link to that?
Of course I can.
That'd be great. Okay, and good luck. I know there's a little bit of time between now and the session's beginning, but just tremendous, and I hope it goes well. And perhaps stay in touch, particularly if you get around to organising anything else as well in the future, unless this kills you by doing all of this sort of stuff. But it's tremendous what you're doing, and the Gather was a beautiful space with a lovely cafe as well. Totally recommendable to everybody. And then
try our cakes.
Try your cakes. Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, speaking of another fantastic project that's taking place in Cumbria, and has been taking place in Cumbria for some time now, Helping Hands has been a huge piece of work, and we've got people on the call today who have been involved in it. And as it comes to its conclusion, it's absolutely right and proper to reflect on it. So, Kate, I'm going to hand over to you because you were in charge, or you are in charge of the whole thing. I think we've got a bit of a film to watch. We've got a bit of beautiful data spread out for us to see as well, which we're going to come to shortly. But Kate, over to you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So yeah, we're into the last few days of a 2-year project, which is really, it's sad. We're all a bit sad, to be honest, because we've just had an amazing time delivering this project. And we wanted to share with you some of the things that we've learned about what it takes to widen the range of people who can volunteer in our cultural organisations across Cumbria. So we're going to just start with a little film that gives you a flavour of what we've been doing. But just before that, I want to say hello to Abby, to Katie, to Victoria, and to Jay, who are all here from the Helping Hands team. So just wave. Okay, there they are. I don't think I've missed anybody, have I? No. Okay, the film then. Thank you very much.
Volunteers are essential to our organisation, but they also bring that extra special something as well. As a small organisation, it's very hard for us to recruit volunteers in an outreach way. And so Helping Hands has helped to go out into the community and find people who are looking for something to do.
Helping Hands has really helped us understanding a little bit more about what volunteers need, and that's really been guiding and shaping us as a small organisation.
We've been able to give back to the volunteers. We also are getting more confident about recruiting volunteers as well. It's brilliant just to see overall how much they develop from the first day that they walk through the door in the museum to just getting in the flow of things really and being part of the team.
I think Helping Hands is unusual in that it is so inclusive, and it's much more open, works with everyone, and finds ways that volunteers with different needs can be supported.
Yes, they give me quite a lot of support. They've given me work boots, which I wasn't really expecting to get.
I'm come here, good, happy, everything okay. Enjoying, very nice.
I do feel very included here because I have a seizure disorder and I'm disabled. They don't treat you indifferently just because you have something wrong with you, because it's not necessarily something wrong, it's just a difference that might make things harder sometimes.
I'm actually transgender, and I was quite nervous when I first came here of how are they going to be with that? Do I come out to them? When I arrived here, I realised how supportive everyone was, and everyone kind of encouraged me to be myself, and it's made me feel a lot more comfortable and more confident.
I've had volunteers who have never worked before, always been a carer all their adult life, who have now stepped into talking to people, being part of a group, having, you know, relationships and friends, and feeling useful and giving back to their community. The sense of self-worth has been amazing. People who've ended up getting skills that have moved them on to employment.
I think it didn't quite work out in an educational environment for me. I mean, I was 17 when I started volunteering. I would not be where I am now at all. No, volunteering has absolutely changed my life for the absolute best.
It's also improved my social skills. Sometimes I just sit in my room and think I could be productive. Volunteering, you're given something to do, which feels kind of like you're contributing towards something.
Genuinely, it makes me get up in the morning. I suffered really bad with depression. to the point where I did actually attempt suicide. So obviously at that point I was at my very lowest. Volunteering has absolutely awoken a beast inside me, it really has. It's given me the enjoyment of life, it's given me a passion for my hometown.
You have somebody to contact that helps you just access that world that you might not have thought you were able to.
Volunteering's definitely changed my life, as I was doing an office job for 15 years and now I'm at Size Castle looking after the gardens. So without that support, that would never have happened.
It is special because you feel as though you're putting something back, you're meeting people, and you know, it's worth it really.
The support I have had off my Helping Hands has been immaculate and enabled me to be more confident in myself and strengthened my bond as a person with people. Yeah, I'm just happy to be the best version of me.
They're really friendly, supportive. They're people who are setting out to make the world a happier place.
Once you're here, you're a part of the family.
The event today is called Great. It gets me every time, that video. There's just so much in it about everything that we've learned. We're going to just talk to you, each of us, a little bit about the lessons that have come out of Helping Hands. But just before we go to that, just to say that Helping Hands was one of the 18 Volunteering Futures projects that the DCMS gave money to 2 years ago nationally. So we actually got the second biggest chunk of money. It nearly killed us to get that money. It was £500,000, and it's a project that's involved over 30 cultural organisations across the county. So when you're spending that amount of money, it's really important to keep track of what you've achieved. And so now I'm just going to pass to Katie McGivney, who's the Cumbria Museum Consortium Manager. I should say Cumbria Museum Consortium is what I do as a day job, and that's the collection of organisations who have led this project. So Katie, why don't you just take us through what we call our data dashboard, which is in itself a work of art. Just very quickly, some of the highlights.
Hello everyone, so this is our project data dashboard, which we use to track key metrics across the project and achievements. And yeah, I'm just going to talk you through some of the headlines. So since January 2023, which was when recruitment of volunteers started in earnest, our fabulous team of inclusive volunteer leads have engaged 856 people throughout the project. That's through providing advice, support and training. They've placed 434 individual volunteers in over 40 arts and heritage organisations, filling 517 opportunities. A little less than a third of that, 139, were first-time volunteers. They'd never volunteered a day in their lives before. If we move on over to the right, one of the things we tracked was volunteers' employment status. And unlike the traditional markup of a volunteer, which has typically been made up of retirees, you can see that a little less than half of our volunteers identified as unemployed, followed by 16% who were students. We also had representation from people who worked part and full-time. We had some really specific key audiences for this project, and they were young people, people who identify as neurodiverse and disabled, and Black, Brown and minoritized people. And one thing that we were really keen to do with this project was to, at the very least, represent the county. And you can see the grey line on our gauge charts here represent the population, and that's based on the Census 2021 data. And you can see we actually smashed that. So yeah, we're really proud of our progress against those 4 areas. Another question we asked of our volunteers was how they heard about the project, and overwhelmingly we found that face-to-face contact was preferable, and most people found out about us through referrals with partner organisations and at events. And moving on over to the right here, we have our postcode analysis, and a little less than 60% of our volunteers actually live in the 0 to 50% most deprived neighbourhoods in the country, and you can see they come across all the way across Cumbria. And we even had volunteers. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, the map's gone wrong. We had volunteers all the way from Newcastle to Manchester, not just Cumbria. So we engage people from a wide area. There we go.
Well done, Katie. It has been a monumental job to track all of that data, but as you can see, Katie does an amazing job of presenting it in a way that has meant that we can use that information to actually shape the project as it's gone on, and we've genuinely done that. Victoria Sanderson has been our communications consultant throughout. So Victoria, yeah, over to you, your parting thoughts.
Hello. Yeah, so as Katie kind of touched on, we had some very specific target audiences for the project. And so when I started, it was hats off to the team at Tully and Kate and Katie and the rest of the team, because the project was really structured incredibly well from a communications perspective, because I could come in, I could see very clear kind of objectives, who the target audiences were, what the target number of volunteers that we needed to reach. There were kind of set cultural delivery partners, and there were these diversity partners. And so one of the first tasks that I did really was to engage the diversity partners. So we had AAA, Inspira, Cumbria Youth Alliance, Multicultural Cumbria, Anti-Racist Cumbria, and Cumbria Deaf Association. And so we had one-to-one meetings with each of those, really to understand their audiences and how they engage their audiences and what specific needs each of those audiences had. And that really informed not only our branding, but also our communications plan. So we went away, we developed those, and we also kind of user tested those with our diversity partners and with a focus group as well. So we really involved them in the process, so it felt very authentic. So I think that was a real success of the communication strategy. And another key success, you've seen it at the beginning, is the video storytelling. So we had a very mixed media campaign, which included things like, flyers, leaflets, banners. We had photography, we had advertising, roles advertised on the website, and we produced like an area of the CMC website just for Helping Hands. So we had lots of different aspects, but the video storytelling really came into its own, because it placed primarily initially the volunteers at the heart of that campaign, and we could understand the benefits to those volunteers. But latterly, as you saw in that video, we were able to talk to the organisations as well and understand, some of those case studies and what the benefits were for the cultural scene in Cumbria more generally. And what the video storytelling did for us was to leverage more PR. So we were able to get a lot more kind of press and media coverage through that. And finally, also really supported with evaluation as well. So our independent evaluator was able to look at those videos and really kind of understand what those key benefits were and also what the barriers were, because we had quite frank and honest conversations with the volunteers about, how they engage with the project.
Yeah. Okay, Victoria, that's really great, and segues nicely onto the fact that we have just received the final project evaluation report from Kate Ruddenhurst, who is our project evaluator, and has done an amazing job of pulling together all the kind of testimony and evidence and data to help us understand how we've done. So there are 5 main lessons that we've learnt from this project, and now we're just going to skip through what they are. So, Jay.
So yeah, as one of the sort of IVLs on the ground, we were listening to our volunteers primarily, as well as our partners. And lesson 1 is that personal relationships, face-to-face contact, they're vital for inclusive volunteering. From the start, we wanted to shift from a role-first model of volunteer recruitment towards people first, where the starting point was identifying the skills, aspirations and needs of the prospective volunteer, and then looking to find the places they'd enjoy, feel valued and be able to thrive. So we spent loads of time getting to know our partner organisations, building those relationships, making sure they had the right systems and support, and finding out what they had to offer for volunteers. And then as we began going out and actively recruiting, working with referral partners, attending events, engaging with communities and responding to inquiries, the principle was always around personal contact. We always sought to get out one-to-one meetings where we could understand the skills of and interests and hopes that volunteers had, as well as recognise any potential barriers, and then we could match them up with the best roles on an understanding of the partnership requirement, the suitability of that individual for the role, and their both sides' ability to be flexible. And in many cases, because we had this personal relationship with both the partner and the potential volunteer, we were able to create bespoke opportunities that made the most of a volunteer's potential, but also could deliver benefits the organisation might not even have seen in the first place. So where barriers existed, we could work with both sides, the individual and the organisation, to find the best solutions. So summing up, I'd say, success is achieved through personal connection, and the problem solving happens when you're in face-to-face conversations.
Completely. So the second lesson, just in brief, was that barriers to recruiting people from a wide range of backgrounds, so inclusive volunteering as we call it, those barriers sit within the organisations, not within the volunteer themselves and not within the communities themselves. So when we wrote the bid, we wrote a bid about, there are so many barriers to volunteering. It's all about transport, it's all about rural isolation, it's all about, economic deprivation and so on and so forth. All of those things apply, of course they do, but actually the biggest issues to tackle some of the biggest issues are inside the organisations that we work with, the way that we work and the attitudes that we hold. So there's way more to say, but that is the second lesson. Number 3.
Thanks, Kate. So the third lesson we looked at was the importance of creating a culture of care in volunteer management. So we did a lot of volunteer interviews, and throughout those interviews there was consistent feedback about the value of a friendly welcome, with volunteer needs again being at the centre of that experience. This means that from the start volunteers can feel safe in their placement, which then leads to many benefits further down the line, such as their feeling of sort of coming out of social isolation and learning new skills. Some of the things that help to retain volunteers using this kind of thinking is good induction processes when onboarding volunteers, making sure they feel supported and welcomed, and a focus on accessibility as well. So really putting that at the forefront of thinking when we look at volunteers approaching an organisation. Something we did as Helping Hands as part of our kind of vast training programme was put on training with CVS, Cumbria CVS, on good practice in volunteer management. So where we noticed there were some organisations who were new to having volunteers and sort of needed that knowledge, we were able to support that with providing training as well. Thanks.
So lesson number 4, we found it was extremely difficult to make generalisations about best practice in volunteering. Throughout the project, a number of questions arose about the ethics of volunteering, such as when should a volunteer opportunity be a paid role and what minimum standards should be in place in organisations before a volunteer can even be placed there. And ultimately, we found that there was no one-size-fits-all solution to these questions, and this was in part due to the diversity in size, capacity and culture of the participating organisations. Navigating these grey areas became a key theme of discussion throughout the programme, and ultimately there was recognition that perfection isn't possible in volunteer management. However, there are things that can be applied universally to mitigate some of these concerns, which our team has handily pulled together in our recipe for inclusive volunteering, which I'm going to share a link to in the chat. So please feel free to check that out because there's way more information in there.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And the 5th lesson, the final one, is that if you adopt the principles of inclusive volunteering that we've kind of espoused, it benefits all volunteers, not just the ones that you are trying to target. So if you get it right for people with particular or additional needs, you get it right for everybody. You make it better for everybody. You make it more possible for people to stay volunteers, and that's good for everybody. So I just wanted to finish by saying thank you to the team. They're amazing. We've tackled this monumental jelly-like project and kind of wrestled it down to a whole load of learning that we can really take forward. And we tried to secure more funding for this project. It didn't work, but we always knew it had an end point. And now it's up to all the organisations that we've worked with, including us at Cumbria Museum Consortium, to run with it and do our best to stay focused on making sure these opportunities are open to the widest possible range of people. So thanks to the team, thanks to all the 30 cultural organisations who've been part of it, and yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you to Abby and Victoria and Katie and Jay as well. I like the sweetener at the end of that recipe card. I've just looked at it, Katie. Be caring and kind. It's kind of not a bad philosophy for life as well, is it really? But that's a really, really nice document. And I was lucky enough to go to the conference at Annie Mawson's Sunbeams, about a month ago. Really uplifting day that was. And you should all be very proud of what you've achieved for Cumbria, for all the volunteers, but also for the organisations. And I really hope that the principles that you've instilled are carried forward by them all as well. So as Virginia says, this is an extraordinary project. Many thanks. You've summed it up beautifully, Virginia. Thank you. Well done, everybody. Right, we've just got 5 minutes left. Thank you for that. Kate, did you just want to mention something about the Catalyst program that we're now embarking on delivering, or the 3 artists are? So tell us what's happened this week.
So yeah, just swapping hats for a moment. So now I have my Cumbria Arts and Culture Network hat on. We have been building up to this moment for some time, and this week we have announced the 3 artists who have secured the £25,000 each creative residencies in Cumbria. We've talked about it quite a lot on these calls. We had 235 applications to our open call across the UK. That closed in early March. Since then, we have had a monumental exercise to shortlist. When I say we, that is ArtGene in Barrow, University of Cumbria, and Cumbria Arts and Culture Network, so 3 organisations, working with Cumbria Local Enterprise Partnership, who have given us the money to make these 3 £25,000 residencies possible. So shortlisting took a long time. There were 6 of us involved, including Andrew Deakin. Hello, thank you for all the many, many, many hours that you put into it. It was a rigorous process against a really strict criteria. As you can imagine, it had to be. But in the end, we were unanimous in our choice of 3 people who just really blew it out of the park. So they are Emma McGordon, who is hiding at the moment, but I'm hoping she might have the sufficient internet to wave. Emma McGordon, there she is. Hello, Emma. Hello. We'll come back to you in a sec. Emma McGordon and Jack McNeil, who is a clarinetist and musical director and professional musician based in Kendal, and a young painter based in Greater Manchester called Azra Matala, who is a phenomenal young woman who you're going to be blown away by the work that she produces. So yeah, we've chosen our artist and we're just about to get cracking. Emma, how does it feel?
Yeah, it all moved very quickly all of a sudden. So obviously there was like you had to like draw the process out because you had so many applications. Like you said, you didn't expect to get that many. So there was this kind of pausing and this kind of holding of breath, and then suddenly I got the phone call, and then everything just happened quickly after that.
Yeah, tell us what you do, Emma, because I didn't actually say.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm a spoken word artist. So I'm from Whitehaven. But spent a lot of time in Cockermouth as well, and I kind of just think of Cockermouth as I am Whitehaven, but I do have a lot of affinity with Cockermouth as well. So yeah, you know, I was on Radio Cumbria. Was that yesterday? I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was first thing in the morning. Yeah. I actually can't remember what I said because it was so early in the morning.
The good news was, Emma, that you didn't swear. You didn't swear. I listened back. It's fine.
Okay, good. Is that what I'm known for?
No, not just saying. We always say, working for the BBC as I do, we always try and warn live guests, please don't swear. And there should be a piece on Border, by the way, this weekend as well. And there should be a piece on News Online on the BBC this weekend.
Right. Yeah. So it was just, so like a flurry of phone calls. And then I think it was nice as well. Like I suddenly got a load of new followers on Instagram. And I thought, oh, this must be the other people who had applied, because there were a lot of artists. Some of who I kind of knew were Cumbria artists, some who I'd never heard of. So that was really nice. That was as it was announced. Like a couple hours later, like my Instagram ping started going, and I was like, "What's this?" It was just people like following me, so I was following them back. So it kind of widened my community, literally in like an hour after it was released, and it was all different artists and different art forms. So that was nice.
Great. So what?
So, yeah.
So how did it feel when Maddie rang and gave you the good news?
So I missed the first call. I rang her back when I got to the gym, and I just got out the sauna, and I was really hot. So I just got out the sauna, and I was like getting changed at the gym, and I was really, really hot, and it was a missed call I didn't recognize. So, and I didn't know it was Maddie. And I was just like, "Oh, hi, yeah, what is it?" And it was Maddie, and it was really weird because I was so hot, like I got this extra wave of heat with the excitement of what she was saying. So it was just this kind of very kind of embodied experience of being stood in the gym. And I'm sure the other women who were, getting changed in the gym stuff wondered what earth I was doing on the phone, because I was a bit like, "Oh my God, Maddie, yeah, that's great. Thank you so much."
Well, you
so,
deserve,
yeah.
you really deserve it, Emma, and yeah, we think you're fabulous, and we can't wait to see where this takes us. So congratulations from all of us. We're going to have each of the Catalyst artists back on these Friday calls to talk to them in more detail. But congratulations, Emma, and to Jack and to Azra as well. It's been monumental, this whole project so far, and it's got 10 months more to run now. So let's keep in touch.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks, Emma. It pains me that we're just over 10:30, but we've got one more thing to say to you. And Kate, back to you again with your CACN hat on. Just mention the big meet, which is taking place at Reg Ed on Wednesday. Chris has put the link in there. Just 10 seconds.
Okay, yes. Bernard Ross, who is director of the National Arts Fundraising School, is our headline speaker at Reg Ed next Wednesday in the morning. There are still a few places left if you want to come and actually see people face to face and just have that chance to network. Thank you very much. I'm going for a lie down now.
I think there were 76 people booked on already, so it should be a good gathering. 9:30 to lunchtime, including a nice free lunch and a great exhibition on at Reg Ed at the moment as well. The new light exhibition. If you've not seen that already, great chance to see that, and all the other bits and bobs going on at Reg Ed. I think we're done. The link is in chat. Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much to Nick, to Peter, to all the Helping Hands crew, to Emma for this morning's conversation. There's no Friday call next week because we've got the big meet on Wednesday. Hopefully see some of you there then. Chris Dennett has still got a magnificent hat on, so let's celebrate that too. It's even a mask. Good luck with all your plans for the weekend. Been a great call. Nice to see you all. Catch you again in 2 weeks' time. Maybe see you at Reg Ed.